So this chapter opens up with us seeing Hikari taking on Urarame, and I think the last time that we saw them was after Sukuna had taken out Kashimo, because that's when the sorcerers started to make their move, and it was Hikari who intercepted Urarame to like isolate her or them from Sukuna inside of Hikari's Idle Death Gamble domain expansion. Now we don't see what played out, we just see the black sphere encase them, and then afterwards it just breaks with them both coming out of it. So we can assume that they went through the Idle Death Gamble, Private Pure Love Train, Patchy Slot game, and I suppose that it ended with Hikari getting the jackpot, because it's kind of inevitable that he's going to get it, the way that the mechanics of the game work. Like if you don't straight up kill Hikari, he's going to get the jackpot essentially. And the jackpot basically gives him infinite cursed energy. Not infinite power, like he doesn't become all powerful or whatever. He just has an infinite energy supply. And with that, he doesn't gas out or anything. He maintains a consistent level of strength, but he also gets perpetual reverse curse technique as well. And it's instantaneous because we see Urarame hit Hikari with Frost Comp. And it's like this big ice ball blast iceberg looking thing, and it encases Hikari's right arm, and Urarame winds up breaking it and breaking off Hikari's arm in the process. And this is where we see how fast his reverse curse technique is from having the jackpot, because it's so fast that it takes Urarame by surprise, and Hikari just throws Urarame down through a building. Urarame's like, wow, you know, that reverse curse technique is super fast. It's actually surpassing Sukuna and Gojo, which I guess is confirming that Hikari has the fastest reverse curse technique in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Of course, only after he gets the jackpot. It's not like he's just walking around and can regenerate like Majin Buu. And I said this before in my spoiler review, but this kind of makes Hikari like the resident Piccolo of the series, because like in Dragon Ball, whenever they needed somebody to get maimed or something, it was Piccolo, because, you know, the Namekians can regrow their limbs. So we're gonna see Hikari get maimed a lot more because he could just regenerate from it and not have to suffer the consequences of staying maimed or grievously wounded. But he continues to fight Urarame, and they have like this back and forth. But then we cut away from their fight, which I assume we'll come back to later if it doesn't just get off-screened or just goes to a stalemate and then we don't see the conclusion of it, because I don't know, maybe they're going to fight again later or something. But we're coming back to the trial, and this was coming off of the end of the previous chapter where we saw Yuji and Higuruma trap Sukuna inside of Higuruma's deadly sentencing domain expansion. And the first thing that Judge Man, the Shikigami within the domain, did was choose Yuji to go on trial for the same thing that he put him on trial from the last time that Yuji and Higuruma had went against each other, and that was the massacre in Shibuya. And Higuruma's like, he didn't do it. The confession he made from the second trial was false, which came from his responsibility. Judge Man knows everyone in the domain. The true criminal is you, Sukuna. So it's understandable why Judge Man is going to do this, because it's not like he's an actual person. He's kind of like on autopilot, and he indiscriminately goes about the trial. Regardless of what the actual truth is, he kind of knows it, but at the same time, you also need to like play out the trial as it would be played out. You know, you have to go by the book, and you have to legitimately convince Judge Man of the truth, despite it being obvious. Because we know that Yuji wasn't actually the one that caused the massacre. It was Sukuna taking over his body and activating his malevolent shrine. But it was like Yuji's body that actually did it. So the following sequence is just Higuruma explaining that in a roundabout way, and that even the proof itself is inside of the envelope that Judge Man supplies him with. So it's very, I guess you could say, Japanese in this system, because it's like Judge Man knows because he gave the proof to Higuruma inside of the envelope, but Higuruma also needs to use the information in the envelope to prove to Judge Man what it actually is. And then he goes on a little bit more about how Sukuna could get out of this by saying that he had mental issues or his mind was lacking abilities and whatever. Sukuna's like, you know what, enough with this, you're taking too long. I already heard the rules of this domain when I was in the brat. Because, yeah, of course he did. Before Sukuna took over Megumi's body, he was always in Yuji in the background observing and taking in everything. And of course, this happened when that was still a thing, because it was one of the first fights in the Culling game, Yuji going against Higuruma. So he already knows everything about the domain. Like, Sukuna is a hyper genius as well, at least in the realm of Jujutsu. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Wanted Dead. Wanted Dead is a love letter to the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation of video games. It has an amazing hack and gunfu combat system where the player is required to juggle between melee combat with katana and a pistol and ranged combat to progress through the story. It embodies the cyberpunk vision of the late 80s with a technologically primitive world that remains stuck in the early 90s that leads to a mix of advanced weaponry and low-tech 90s retro. In other words, this is cyberpunk like no one has ever seen before. Step into a mesmerizing world so immersive that reality may fade away as you'll be swept off your feet by breathtaking anime cutscenes that seamlessly progress. However, despite the serious backdrop, don't be deceived. The game is brimming with lively characters, witty pop culture references, and hidden surprises. Imagine seamlessly transitioning from battling villains to savoring a bowl of ramen. And did I mention there's a feline companion? A perfect 10 out of 10. This is undoubtedly the game of the year. Wanted Dead aims to pay homage to the era of games on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, delivering a classic hack and slash experience and a delightful 10-hour adventure. In a contemporary gaming landscape dominated by epic tales lasting over 200 hours and worlds rivaling small continents in size, this game is undeniably a breath of fresh air. Currently, there's this amazing deal going on from 110 Industries. They're slashing the price of this fantastic game by a whopping 60%. I'm not talking about 30 or 40%, we're talking a jaw-dropping 60% off. This killer offer is up for grabs on PlayStation 4 and 5 until December 20th. Oh, and by the way, Wanted Dead is also up for grabs on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One. So what's the hold up? Grab your copy today by clicking the link in the description. Thanks, guys. And he says, all I'm interested in is the sword. I don't care of where or what I did, just end it already. But he says it like calmly. And him saying that all he's interested in is the sword is super interesting, right? Because the sword has been talked about a lot coming into this chapter, the Executioner's Sword. The sword that is bestowed upon Higuruma if Judgman gives the death penalty. And the special thing about the sword is that it can kill anyone with one strike. Like anyone. I'm pretty sure that's like an accurate translation of it, meaning that like it doesn't matter if you're full-blown Prime Sukuna, 20 fingers, full power, ultimate Jujutsu master, he will kill you with just one slash of that sword. Like, it's one of the strongest things in Jujutsu Kaisen. If not, straight up the literally strongest thing. Like, I don't think there's anything else that is as strong or has a definitive ability like that. And it also goes back to Kenjaku saying that he was more interested in Higuruma than anything. Now we're seeing that Sukuna is interested in the sword, and it makes you wonder, like, can you take the sword from Higuruma? Because I just would assume that if he like lets go of it or something, that it would just dissipate. But maybe he can just take the sword from him and use it. I mean, I don't know how long it would last outside of the domain or, you know, the variables like that. I mean, I guess we'll find out. But anyway, Judgman declares Sukuna guilty because he admitted to it. And he says confiscation and death penalty, which is both of the verdicts that they wanted coming into this. They wanted to at least confiscate Sukuna's curse technique and then, you know, straight up kill him. So confiscation applies to Sukuna, but we won't find out to the end exactly what it did. And then we see the Executioner's Sword manifest, and Sukuna's smiling at it. He's like, yeah. So I'm thinking that like Sukuna can take it and use it to his advantage, or he can like do something else with it. There's obviously something that Sukuna is going to do with the Executioner's Sword here. So after Higuruma gets the Executioner's Sword, he says the sorcerers from Jujutsu High will go, and we see Ino, Kusakabe, and Choso. So they're going to do something, or at least Ino is, because Ino has like his mask down, indicating that he's going to activate his Auspicious Beast curse technique. And I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this because it didn't happen too long ago in season 2 of the anime, you know, with the whole Toji resurrection thing. Now, it seems that there's more to what Ino can do with this ability, because also in the 1 month time skip coming into the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, Ino was like talking to Gojo and Shoko about something, but we don't know what it was. It could have had something to do with Nanami maybe, not really sure, but there is some kind of trick that Ino has up his sleeve that we're not seeing yet. Then we see like this sequence of Higuruma hearing someone say, "Higuruma, do you want to die?" Now either this is like a flashback or it's actually happening, and this is like Sukuna invading Higuruma's mind or something, because the narration says the ones who noticed that the change could be easily wrecked was Sukuna and Higuruma himself. So this could be like a premonition of him dying, because Sukuna just instantly fires off a bunch of, as it says, vicious blades at him. This is either like cleave or dismantle of the advanced variety, and it instantly goes through Kusakabe and Higuruma. Like, they're ostensibly dead here. And if you're wondering, like, wait, I thought confiscation took his curse technique. Well, no, apparently there's a more nuanced rule of Judge Man here, because if the target of confiscation has a cursed tool or a weapon, that will be confiscated instead of the curse technique, which just doesn't make sense, because obviously the curse technique is way more of a priority than the cursed weapon. But whatever. And the weapon that Judge Man took was Sukuna's Kamatoke, which is like based off of the Vajra. It's like a lightning based ability that could also maybe give Sukuna the ability to teleport where the lightning strikes maybe. But this was also made by Yorozu on her deathbed with the last of her construction techniques. So I don't know if this means that Judge Man just takes it and it's gone forever, or he gets it back after the domain is over or something. I don't really know, because the domain is technically over. So is it just gone forever, and the only time we got to see him use it was against Kashimo for a little bit? That seems kind of a waste. But maybe it's because Sukuna is going to take the Executioner's sword. Like, I don't know how long it lasts, especially if Higuruma dies, but there's something going on here. And I don't know if this is necessarily the end of Higuruma, like this is his death, because that's a little anticlimactic. I mean, I guess the same thing has been happening with Gojo and Kashimo, but just seems like, I don't know, someone's going to intervene here or something, or he's not actually dying. Not really sure. But let me know in the comments what you think, and if you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.